The Clone Wars was a galaxy-spanning conflict between the Galactic Republic and the Confederacy of Independent Systems. When the Jedi Order were in need of additional soldiers, Anakin Skywalker was quickly promoted to the rank of Jedi Knight. Anakin became famous during the Clone Wars because of his exceptional combat and leadership abilities as a Jedi General. In the canon book Skywalker: A Family of War, it is explained in amazing detail why Anakin Skywalker loved fighting in the Clone Wars, as well as exploring how Anakin's role and actions in the Clone Wars pushed him toward the dark side. Let's get right into it. Following the First Battle of Geonosis, war between the Republic and Separatist forces raged for 3 years. Subsequently known as the Clone Wars, this would prove a time of upheaval for the Republic, the Jedi Order, and most importantly, Anakin Skywalker, a young man just barely into his 20s. In the new reality brought on by the conflict, the Jedi were forced to reevaluate their place as peacekeepers and instead turn their attentions to commanding legions of clone troopers on the front lines. For Anakin Skywalker specifically, his time as a soldier on the battlefield challenged the Jedi teachings, turning the harsher aspects of his personality, which the Jedi Order sought to subdue, into attributes that allowed him to excel in a strange new galaxy besieged by military strife. His passionate nature and fiery temper made him an absolute formidable warrior. Anakin enthusiastically embraced his new role as a Jedi General and quickly came to trust his clone troopers, like the loyal, invaluable Captain Rex of the 501st, as much as he did his fellow Jedi. While most Jedi struggled with their new roles, Anakin Skywalker was a success by any measure. From his roots as a slave, he had risen to win the heart of a queen and a place among the legendary Jedi. Before long, he was sure he would become famed for his selfless deeds on the battlefield, a giant among men, a charismatic leader marked for high office in the Republic. As Anakin's old lightsaber was damaged beyond repair in the droid factory on Geonosis, he finally resolved to construct a new one, with a gleaming hilt encasing a stunning blue blade, using the craftsmanship that had made him such a valuable commodity on Tatooine years before. This new weapon, created not for defense or sparring, but for battle, was heavier than his first and able to withstand the rigors of the Clone Wars. On Coruscant, the best medical droids in the galaxy fabricated a gleaming prosthetic limb to replace the right arm he had lost during his duel with Dooku on Geonosis. Although at first, this new Mechno-hand produced a strange sensation, to his satisfaction, the trade-off for losing his real hand was a more powerful appendage, giving greater grip and range of motion. Over time, Anakin added armor shielding to enhance his cybernetic replacement. While not overly concerned with the cosmetic appeal of the arm, Anakin often covered the skeletal fingers with a customized auto-seal glove. The recognition that Anakin himself was now part machine added a new level of complexity to his place in the fight, commanding the soldiers who battled a separatist army almost entirely comprised of battle droid soldiers. The technology of his arm and hand was a gruesome reminder of his potential for defeat. He tried his best to ignore this evidence of his vulnerability and instead focused on the power his Mechno limb gave him to bolster his confidence and gave himself renewed purpose. Anakin Skywalker quickly emerged as a heroic figure on the battlefield, just as he had predicted. He shed the Padawan braid that marked him as a student. His close-cropped sandy hair grew a darker brown, and as long as he pleased, in acknowledgement of his new status as a Jedi Knight, with more freedoms and responsibilities. He did not adopt a beard like his master Obi-Wan Kenobi, allowing his youthful looks to contrast with his powerful physique. The lean muscle he had built up through years of Jedi training exercises nicely filled out his new Jedi robes, which no longer appeared ill-fitting and oversized. Standing at 1.88 meters, the young boy who had been so eager to join the Jedi's ranks was all but erased. The same characteristics that made Anakin a difficult Padawan ensured he excelled as a Jedi General and came to be known as a great warrior, although Master Yoda would later argue that wars did not make anyone great. While others in the Order wrestled with the moral dilemmas war posed, trying to find ways to remain righteous while fighting the enemy, Anakin Skywalker's natural imprudence and inflexibility made him a decisive leader. He quickly realized when his anger flared in the arena of battle, he did not have to shrink from it, but could instead allow it to fuel attacks on the enemy. When he gave in to his wrath, He could force even the most resilient prisoner of war to give him any information he desired. He never spoke of any of this to Obi-Wan Kenobi, or anyone else of course. He knew that his master would have quickly reminded him that the Jedi way was to move past anger to a place of calm clarity. In the thrill of combat, Anakin found that he could easily annihilate virtually any opponent with a combination of intelligence, strategy, and instinct. Like the heroes of the stories his mother had told him as a child, Anakin Skywalker's name tumbled from the mouths of pirates and smugglers, spreading tales of his triumphs across the stars. His newfound military rank gave him power over hundreds of clone troopers, yet he struggled to comply with the chain of command. When duty took him to familiar places such as Tatooine, or when facing the destruction of innocents or the enslaved, Anakin's actions were strongly influenced by his personal feelings, pushing the young boy closer to the dark side of the Force. The ramifications of war slowly spread. Its widespread devastation gradually pushed Anakin closer to the brink of an unknown future. When the war took Anakin back to Geonosis, the place where it all began, he struggled to overcome the trauma he had endured in the arena and the loss of his limb during his fateful duel with Count Dooku. Everything about the planet Geonosis reminded him of his defeat. During the Second Battle of Geonosis against Separatist forces, the imprisoned leader of the Geonosians, Poggle the Lesser, was reluctant to talk until Anakin Skywalker reached out through the Force to choke him into submission and brutally secured the information he required. Anakin never spoke of this incident to Obi-Wan, who would have surely chastised him for this loss of control. The violence of war undoubtedly eroded Anakin's conscience, yet more nefarious factors were at play. The Sith were gaining strength, while the Jedi's principles were becoming more compromised with each battle. Nothing was sacred to the Republic's foes. The Separatists engaged them on all fronts, employing bounty hunters for clandestine attacks, such as breaking into the sacred Jedi archives to retrieve the names of Force-sensitive children identified throughout the galaxy but too young to train. As months of combat in the Clone Wars stretched into years, the Republic slouched toward victory of a sort, but the Jedi were powerless to see how this victory would manifest itself, and at what cost. Too often, instead of merely defending against an attacker, the Jedi found themselves on the offensive. The Clone Wars made Anakin and Obi-Wan brothers in arms, but Anakin's friendship with Supreme Chancellor Palpatine also continued to grow. Anakin was readily sharing secrets with a politician he was too ashamed to tell other Jedi. From his massacre of the Tusken Raiders on Tatooine, to the more aggressive forms of interrogation he had employed during the course of the war. In every case, his confessions were met with sympathetic support. Anakin, a master of self-justification, began to buy into the idea that he was genuinely the chosen one, capable of becoming the galaxy's savior. In this way, he pushed away secret fears and feelings of shame. With increasing frequency, Anakin's intentions to help the galaxy find the peace it so needed were being unconsciously thwarted by the dark side. Palpatine's influence helped persuade Anakin that the Jedi's ideals effectively made them incapable of the ruthlessness required for ultimate victory. The wrongs Anakin perpetrated, which he had come to see as essential to the Republic's war effort, would not be enough to win the war if the other Jedi Knights refused to play their part. As far as he was concerned, almost any means was justified to return the galaxy to a peaceful state that the Jedi could once again protect. To achieve this goal, moral compromises were inevitable. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video and learned something new, please like and subscribe. And remember, the Force will be with you, always.